Nissan Navara might not be the best-selling model or the most sought after, but it's always been a solid contender in my opinion. I like the look of this latest model. It looks tough, but it also looks modern and sophisticated, and it's not a full macho design like some utes out there. It kind of fits in with a premium SUV style, although this Pro-4X has definitely got some sporty edge to it too. The grey colour scheme with the black highlights is definitely very fashionable at the moment too, with a black sports bar in the back, black side mirrors and door handles, and alloy wheels. They're wrapped in all-terrain tyres with some cool retro white painted writing on the side. I think one of the highlights to the Navara, at least in top spec form, is the fact that this comes with coil springs at the back. So pretty much no other ute, or the T60 is available with coil springs at the back, but almost all utes at the moment have leaf springs. They are considered more heavy duty, so if you are towing heavy loads or carrying heavy things in the back, then leaf springs might be the better option for you. But if you're not regularly carrying heavy things or towing heavy things, the coil springs are definitely more comfortable. You got better wheel control. The spring is able to push the wheel back onto the tarmac over bumps and corrugations better than a leaf spring. It feels pretty much like a heavy duty SUV rather than a heavy duty ute to drive anyway. The handling is pretty good, and this is not a huge ute, so some of the new models like the Ford Ranger and so on, and the GWM products, they're quite large, whereas this is definitely on the smaller side. It's still spacious enough for 4 adults, but yeah, you just feel a little bit narrow in here. But the handling is quite good. I like the way this drives, especially over bumps and corrugations like this. Only thing I'm finding is this passenger seat rattles around a lot. It really moves about. So if someone's sitting in it, it probably quietens down a bit. But yeah, I've just noticed driving on very poor surfaces like this, it's constantly rattling around. Unfortunately, you can't move the steering column in and out. It only goes up and down, which is very annoying. But in saying that, I am pretty comfortable the way I am right now. I've managed to move the seat, power adjustable seat for the driver with the Pro-4X. I can find a decent position. I'd like to be a tiny bit lower and just a bit further back and be able to pull the steering wheel out. These bespoke seats are pretty good though. Nice side bolsters, thick leather as well. It feels like it would definitely stand the test of time. And they're pretty comfortable. Rear seat space is probably not as spacious as some of those bigger rivals, as I mentioned, but you do get climate vents in the back. The Navara, this generation Navara, was one of the first to offer climate vents in the back of a dual cab ute. You've also got multiple grab handles, cup holders from a flip down center armrest, and bottle holders in the doors. And being the Navara, you've also got that poke through openable window within the rear windscreen. I'm not sure where that would come in use, but it's kind of cool to have. If it had a nice new touchscreen, a bit bigger, the climate controls separate down here, they're okay, but it does look a bit old. But I do like the way you've got big buttons, so you can easily control what you want to do while you're driving. But yeah, the dashboard is the way it's round and all that. It kind of is a bit 2010, whereas if it was updated with a sort of more rugged square dash, a bit like the Triton, which it might adopt in the future, I think it would really push this above where it stands now. It does only come with a soft cover for the tray area, so you can't lock things up, but I do like the way it's got the tie hooks low down in the tray, so that way you can tie your items down rather than just against. In terms of the engine and performance, I've always liked this 2.3 twin turbo 4-cylinder. It is a bit unique, a bit quirky, but it's kind of interesting. And I know interesting doesn't, that's not a high priority for most people, but it's just unique. And even though the figures are pretty average now, 140 kilowatts and 450 Newton meters, it still goes all right. As you'll see in the 0 to 100 test, it's still a decent performer compared with some of the even more modern rivals, because they are most of the time a lot heavier. Because this is a kind of an older school model, it's quite light for its class. In terms of economy, we're averaging 8.8 litres per 100 kilometers. I think that's really good. Considering I've already done performance testing, that's actually, yeah, not bad at all. It's easy to drive, visibility is good. That mirror could go down a little bit lower, but I can see over the top of it, and I can raise my seat even higher if I wanted to. I've got it on the lowest setting. As I said, I'd rather it be a little bit lower, but yeah, I can see over that. There's a little bit of a gap between the pillar and the mirror, and good visibility out the front too. With that rounded dashboard, you kind of get that perception of more space and more visibility because it just sort of drops down straight away. Out the back, it is a little bit restricted due to that opening window section, but yeah, overall, it's pretty good. You can see out there and see what's going on. It does come with a surround view camera, which is great, and kind of in contrast to this dated touchscreen, you've got actually, yeah, this full surround view so you can see where you are when you're parking. Off the road, the Navara has always been a decent performer here as well. This example offers 220 millimeters of ground clearance, which is not that impressive on paper compared with the rivals, but you do get a 32-degree approach angle, which is pretty good, 20-degree rear, which is, yeah, it's pretty average, and then 22 degrees breakover angle. So they're not bad dimensions, but yeah, they're not the best if you're looking specifically at those and only care about those. The good thing about this, though, again, is that coil spring rear end. So over this rough dirt road, there's quite a few potholes and things all over it. The suspension is able to absorb the bumps and keep the vehicle controlled and well managed. It all comes back to that question that I often ask, you know, anybody that asks me what kind of ute they should buy. I say, do you really need a ute? Are you going to be actually towing things or putting stuff in the back? Because if you're not, an SUV is probably a better alternative. They're often a little bit safer, better handling because they've often got lower center of gravity, usually got better tires, and utes often have very rudimentary rear suspension setups. But if you really do need a ute, but you're not super keen on doing all the towing and all the heavy duty stuff, you just want a tray at the back to carry random items, and you want to be able to go off-road, then yeah, the Navara is a good choice because it is quite comfortable compared with a lot of the rivals. And it's still very capable. I've got low range, I've got a rear diff lock as well, and it's got those all-terrain tires, so it does really well. Alright, let's head out now to the private road and do some performance testing.